As a supposed divine book, it uses language that can only be described as overwhelmingly human, not one befitting an omniscient, merciful deity of the universe, as not only is the Quran full of threats of punishment if it is not followed, it is full of insults by comparing humans to animals. For example, in Quran 68:16, it insults the non-Muslims by saying, quote, "We shall brand the disbeliever on their trunk." End quote. The Arabic term khurtum is used to refer to the trunk of an elephant. The use of this word to describe the disbeliever is comparing them to an animal and insulting them by saying their nose is analogous to that of an elephant's trunk. Quran 7179 describes non-Muslims worse than animals by saying they are like cattle, nay rather they are further astray. To a dog in Quran 7176, if we so willed, we would have elevated him thereby, but he clung to the earth and followed his desires. So his example is like the example of a dog. If you attack him, he pants with his tongue protruding, and if you leave him alone, he still pants with his tongue protruding. That is the example of those who rejected our signs. In Quran 62:5, it describes Jews as donkeys by saying, "The example of those who were entrusted with the Torah and then did not take it on is like that of a donkey who carries volumes of books. Wretched is the example of the people who deny the signs of Allah, and Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people." The Quran in three different verses, 7166, 265, and 560, describes Jews as pigs or monkeys. For example, in 7166 it says, "When in their insolence they transgressed our prohibitions, we said to them, Be ye apes, despised and rejected." The term Fujjar is used in Quran in four places: 38:28, 82:14, 82:16, 83:7. It is an extremely derogatory and insulting term. In these places, it is used in the plural. The term Fajr is a singular form. In the Arabic lingua franca, when someone says Imra'a Fajira, it is to call her a whore. In Quran translations, the word Fujjar is translated as criminals, evil, or wicked. For example, in verse 38:28, it says, "Shall we treat those who believe in Islamic monotheism and do righteous good deeds the same as the Mufsidun, those who associate and commit crimes on earth? Or shall we treat the Muttaqun, the pious, the same as the Fujjar, criminals, disbelievers, and the wicked, etc.?" Notice how one instantly becomes a Fujjar if they do not believe in Islam. Quran 71:27 uses the word in its singular and says, quote, "If you leave them, the disbelievers, to it, they will mislead your slaves, the Muslims, and they," meaning the disbelievers, "do not beget none but wicked disbelievers." This means Muslims are not to stop leaving the disbelievers alone in their harassment, persecution, and conversion of them because they give birth to children who are fajr, meaning wicked, evil, disbelievers, etc. Other insulting terms which are commonly used in the Quran include fasiq, which means sinner, corrupt, impious, depraved, and munafiq, which means hypocrite. Mentioned many times in the Quran, fasiq refers to someone, generally a Muslim, who violates Islamic law. They are considered unreliable. Their testimony is not accepted in Islamic courts. The term munafiq means hypocrite or false Muslim. They are a group decried in the Quran as outward Muslims who are inwardly concealing disbelief and actively sought to undermine the Muslim community. An entire Quranic chapter is dedicated to them. The term kafir is found all over the Quran, and it is a derogatory term. As it's commonly thought, it does not simply mean a disbeliever, infidel, or non-Muslim. Its root is from the Arabic letters kaf, fa, ra, which is to conceal or hide. The origins of the term comes from a pre-Islamic term that described farmers burying seeds in the ground. One of its applications in the Quran, 57:20, is that of the farmer, since he covers the seeds with soil while planting. In effect, when the Muslim, the Quran, or Muhammad calls someone a kafir, they are saying that that person knows the truth, but they are hiding it. Therefore, the word kafir, as applied by the Quran and the Muslims, implies ideologically as a concealer or ingrate, meaning that the non-Muslims are liars, which is why the term is also often used as an insult or offensive curse word. So bad is the term kafir that it is considered to be a racist term which evolved during the pre-colonial period as an equivalent of the N-word, a racist slur used to refer to a black person. In South Africa, the word was loosely used to refer to black South Africans and blacks in Suriname. It was adopted as a derogatory term after 1948 when the apartheid system was established. To use the epithet kafir is a crime and has been actionable in the justice system of South Africa since 1976. There is a link below explaining this in the context of a supermarket in the UK having to change the name of one of its products because of its racial slur connotations. Realizing the offensiveness of the term kafir, in Indonesia, the world's most populous Muslim country, some of its clerics have called for the term not to be used anymore to describe non-Muslims. For example, in the Jakarta Post on March 1st, 2019, it says, clerics from Islamic mass organization Nahdlatul Ulama have urged Muslims to refrain from using the word kafir to describe non-Muslims. The link is below. The irony is that it is a term found all over the Quran. As the Quran divides the world between Muslims and Kafirs, humiliating punishments are meted out to Kafirs in Quran 69:32, where it says, quote, "Then into a chain whose length is 70 cubits insert him." End quote. The link in the description is of Ibn Kathir's commentary of the verse, in that it means, quote, "Then fasten him on a chain whereof the length is 70 cubits. Ka'b al-Ahbar said, every ring of it will be equal to the entire amount of iron found in this world. Al-Awfi reported that Ibn Abbas and Ibn Jurayj both said, each cubit will be the forearm's length of an angel. It, the chain, will be entered into his buttocks and pulled out of his mouth. Then they will be arranged on this chain just like locusts are arranged on a stick that is being roasted. Al-Awfi reported from Ibn Abbas that he said, it will be ran into his behind until it is brought out of his two nostrils, so he will not be able to stand on his 2 feet. End quote. In Tafsir Ibn Abbas, it concurs by saying, quote, "And then insert him in a chain, insert the chain in his anus, and extract it from his mouth, and what remains of it, turn it around his neck, whereof the length and width is 70 cubits, cubits of the angel." It is also said this means 70 fathoms. The threats continue, as it states not to take family as friends or befriend anyone who is not a Muslim in Quran 9:23. But it says, "O you who have believed, do not take your fathers or your brothers as friends if they have preferred disbelief over belief, and whoever does so among you, then it is those who are the wrongdoers." In Quran 3:28, it says, "Let not the believers take the unbelievers for friends rather than believers, and whoever does this, he shall have nothing of the guardianship of Allah, but you should guard yourselves against them, guarding carefully, and Allah makes you cautious of retribution from Himself, and to Allah is the eventual coming." In Tafsir Ibn Abbas, it says the aforementioned verse means the believers ought not to take the hypocrites, such as Abdullah ibn Ubay and his companion, and disbelievers, the Jews, for their friends, so as to become mighty and honourable in preference to believers who are sincere. Whoso doeth that, seeking might and honour by taking the hypocrites and disbelievers as friends, hath no connection with Allah, has no honour, mercy, or protection from Allah, unless it be that but guard yourselves against them, save yourselves from them, taking as it were security, saving yourselves from them by speaking in a friendly way towards them while your heart dislikes this. Allah biddeth you beware only of Himself regarding the shunning of unlawful killing, unlawful sex, unlawful property, consuming intoxicants, false testimony, and associating partners with Allah. Unto Allah is the journeying, the return after death. So here, the double standards are that Muslims are allowed to be hypocritical towards the non-Muslim if it is in their advantage by speaking in a friendly way to them, but their hearts must dislike it. It still stands, the Muslims are not to befriend non-Muslims, whether they are hypocrites or others such as Jews. Non-Muslims are impure according to Quran 9:28, where it says, "O you who have believed, indeed the polytheists are unclean, so let them not come near the inviolable place of worship after this year." In respect to impurity of non-Muslims, within Sunni sources such as At-Tabari, in his commentary for Quran 9:28, says the term najas, impurity, found in the Quran means even if a Muslim touches a non-Muslim, they are to wash themselves by ablution. Shia sources also believe in the impurity of non-Muslims, such as At-Tusi, a major Shia jurisprudent and scholar. From his deduction from the Quran, believed that it is not permissible to eat with non-Muslims. In fact, such is the disdain Islam has for non-Muslims as promulgated by the Quran and its other holy literatures. Currently in Saudi Arabia, there are signs that direct non-Muslims away from the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Access is only reserved for the pure Muslims. These road signs functions as a border that is defined by Saudi Arabia as a religious border, the only place on earth that such an apartheid religious border exists. So in conclusion, as a supposed divine book, it uses language that can be described as overwhelmingly human. Not only is the Quran full of threats of punishment if it is not followed, it is full of insults. It degrades non-Muslims by comparing them to animals. It uses vulgar and degrading language even towards Muslims who are not practicing, and labels others as hypocrites. The term kafir, found all over the Quran, is a derogatory term. It does not simply mean a disbeliever, infidel, or non-Muslim. Ideologically, it means a concealer, an ingrate, meaning that non-Muslims are liars. The term has been used as a racial slur in certain countries and even banned by some Muslim countries. The Quran mentions humiliating punishments for the kafir. The Quran warns Muslims not to befriend non-Muslims, even if they are family. But Muslims can deceive if it's advantageous to them by speaking to non-Muslims in a friendly way, but their hearts must dislike it. Non-Muslims are impure, which is the reason why they are not allowed in the cities of Mecca and Medina.